All right, I got a few more questions this week, and I'm going to spend actually the bulk of the time on the Godox flash and doing focus stacking, but let me get a couple of these shorter ones out of the way first. And this one is from William Hansen, and he says, for best performance of the SH2 mode, F8 is the fastest recommended. Is that still true, or was it fixed over a camera firmware update? Now, this is not something I think can be fixed in firmware, at least not as far as I know, because what we're dealing with here is the physics of light in our lenses. And what's happening is when you stop a lens down to say f8 or even a higher number like f11 or f16, you're physically closing the iris inside, making a very small hole. So just to kind of illustrate, here's my lens wide open, and if I stop this down to f8 roughly, that's about f8 right there. You can see how small that hole is when we stop the lens down. And then I'm going to open it all the way back up, and that's wide open. So by stopping the lens down, i.e. making that iris smaller, the light has to actually physically bend through that little hole and back up. And when you pass light through a small hole like that, or essentially it's going over an edge, you start to get this phenomena called diffraction, where the light has to spread more, and it makes the images ultimately a little bit softer and have a little bit less contrast. And the smaller that opening, meaning the higher the aperture number, the more it has to spread and the more diffraction you're going to get. And that plays basically havoc on the autofocusing system. So it's not really probably not getting enough light, and also this diffraction anomaly also causes the images to be a little soft, i.e. have less contrast for the autofocusing system to work. All right, the next question here is from Ian Downey, and this is reference to the Godox TT350. And it says, when I tap zoom, it doesn't let me toggle between AU, which is automatic, or M, which is manual, nor will it let me change the millimeter on the zoom range. And the top of the display reads TTL in the little black box, and 12 millimeter zoom. I use the Fuji X-T30. All right, so let's take a look at the flash again. So we're in TTL mode. We have the little M here, and we have our millimeter and zoom. I shoot micro four thirds, so this says 24 instead of 12. But basically what you're saying is when you push the zoom button, you're not able to adjust the zoom length like I'm doing here, nor are you able to put it into automatic mode where it says AU like this. All right, now I don't think there's anything wrong with your flash, because that is a normal behavior when the batteries get low in the unit. You won't be able to change the zoom millimeter nor put it into automatic zoom, because when the batteries are low, it won't have enough power to use the motors to move the flash head to change the millimeters. So I'm going to swap over to some low batteries. All right, so I put some very weak batteries in here, and you can see I have a little battery icon blinking here, letting me know the batteries are low. And more importantly is when I push the zoom button, I can't change the millimeters there, and I can't put it into auto mode by rotating all the way to the left or counterclockwise. So that's most likely why you're not able to change the zoom. Now, if you have fresh batteries in the flash and you're still not able to change or adjust the zoom, it's most likely because you have the plastic diffuser out. That's that little piece of plastic that just kind of pulls out on the top like this. Let me hide that, but there's a little plastic diffuser here that you can put over the front. When you do that, it locks the flash into its widest angle, which I think in your case would be 12 millimeters. All right, the next question here is from Jim, and this is in reference to using the OM1 and the Godox V860. And this is actually a very common problem that I think there is a fix for, and I'll show you. But let me read the question here. It says, the only issue I have with focus stacking and bracketing is getting my OM1 and the V860 to work together. It will work in single shot, but not for stacking. And anyone else having these problems, or is it just me? It's not just you, trust me. The camera has the latest firmware, 1.5. Any explanation or answer would be most appreciated. All right, so let's look at a couple of scenarios, right? We're going to do one where everything works just fine. We're going to do one where it does not work. And then we'll do one where it did not work, but we can fix it to make it work. So basically the settings are, I have the flash in full manual mode. I have the camera in manual mode at 1/100th of a second, and I dialed in f8 for exposure purposes. and base ISO. And I chose 1/100th of a second because the flash sync speed for silent shutter is 1/100th of a second. And when you're doing focus stacking, you have to use silent shutter. So let's go into the menu, and I have focus stacking turned on. And I'll just do the minimum number of shots, 3 shots. Focus differential, all this is not that critical just for this example. All right, so let's just take a picture. And it fired 3 times, took 3 pictures, and stacked it just perfectly fine. Now, this is a scenario where it does not work. All right, so this is a scenario where the focus stacking does not work, and a lot of people have come to me about this, and I did not have a solution until now. And that's when you have the xPro trigger attached, so you can do off-camera type focus stacking or off-camera flash focus stacking, which is, really a much more common way to do this kind of photography. And the problem occurs is, okay, so we're going to be in manual mode at 1:256, just as before, 100th of a second, f8, and actually we were at ISO 800, not base ISO. But anyhow, I'll go into the menu, double check my settings. So I'm going to do 3 shots, a focus differential, and a 1/2 second charge time. And then let's go ahead and do a shot here. And you can see, instead of getting that busy and where the camera stacks the images together, it just stops at the end of 3 shots and takes you back to your live view. And it did capture the images, but it didn't stack them. This is the solution. And for this to work, you cannot have the regular xPro trigger. You have to get the xPro version 2. Version 2 introduced a new feature called Legacy. What you do is you go into the menu and you roll around, right, until you get to this little icon here, and you click OK. And it says Legacy, what does that say? Legacy Hot Shoe. So you turn that on like that. So what that does is it forces the trigger to only use a single pin instead of using all the pins like it would normally do for TTL and everything else. But you're turning off these other 4 pins and only using the single pin. So you do that. And we'll just take another picture here. And you can see it took the 3 pictures, it built the image and stacked it for you. And that's the solution. Another solution is to get one of these wireless single pin transmitter receiver type deals. And I got this one for like 30 bucks. I like this one because it's very small. Transmitter on the camera. So you set that up and then you put your flash on here, and this is also acts as a stand, right? So it's kind of nice. And then same settings as before. Only difference being is that we're using, a dummy wireless transmitter receiver. All right, and one other option that is available to you is those flash cords that just have a single pin. I have one, but I can't find it, and otherwise I would try it and see if it works. But it should work, right? It's just a single pin cord, but I can't show you for a fact. And this trigger here, this one is, I can't find it anymore. Otherwise, I'd have a link down below to it. But this one's made by Velo. And what I like about this is it uses a button cell battery here, which is very easy to get at the local store, and AAA batteries. There's other triggers out there that are, cheaper, but they use some sort of weird battery that I can only find online. I can never find it in the store. So that's why I don't like those. And then also, I did find one that did use only AAA batteries. So it's AAA batteries in the transmitter. So it made the transmitter a little bit longer and a little thicker. And then in the receiver, which was about the same size as the transmitter. The only problem is that was like $43, right? So it's like, wow, $43. I mean, that's halfway to the price of what I paid for this. I paid $75 for this. I think the normal price is like $89. And it's okay for me because I use these professionally, and having an extra is okay. I didn't want to, but you know, I can kind of justify it, right? For a lot of people, it's hard to justify buying a trigger just for that one feature. So it would be nice if Godox could update their version 1 trigger, if you're listening, to have that one particular legacy feature added to the menu, because that's the only way I could get the Godox flashes to work with the OM1. On the M1 Mark III and previous models, the xPro, the regular xPro trigger works fine, but some reason on the OM1, the focus stacking stopped working with my Godox xPro trigger, and I had to buy this xPro 2. So let me know if that worked. Can I get it? You probably have to buy something else before you can try and see, but I'm not going anywhere, so just leave a comment down later. And for everyone watching, if you find these videos helpful, consider supporting the channel by buying me a coffee or making a small donation on links below, because they help me to continue making videos like this, and they are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.